Hey folks, in this video I'm going to be removing or repotting, but it's going to be in the same pot really. I don't know if you'd really want to call it repotting or just resoiling, even though it's not really soil, rebarking the orchid. This one, it really could use a little more TLC. It's one of three that are sitting near a south-facing window that are my mom's, and this one seems to be like just needing more water, so it seems like it's a good time to re-media the roots because, you know, as the bark and media degrades over time, the roots get less air, and since these are epiphytic, they need both moisture and air. So to start, I'm going to, let me actually set this in here. To start, I need to remove these flower spikes, and oh, I forgot about these upper pins. Okay, these are so weird. They look like little hair clips. I'm almost gross to touch them. I'm like, whose hair have they been in? Anyway, let's see. Little twist tie there, trying to hold everything together. So I can remove these, and with my trusty needle nose pinchers, I can remove these flower spikes because they are kind of dry. So I'm just trimming them off. This one is a little tricky. There we go. Actually, I'll just leave that there for now. I have a bag so I can collect the excess, the old potting media. Oh, this is sitting in water. Wow, there is some water at the bottom in here. So this really was not happy in there. Let me see. Wow, this really broke up, and if you can, it does have holes on the side. Okay, if you can see, a lot of this bark has become fine, and there's too much, it's just so brittle. It really has started to decompose and really prevent the roots from breathing. If you notice here, there's a little, looks like a little peat plug from the nursery from years ago when they propagated this. I don't want to damage the roots, so you have to be very careful with this. So I'm pressing on it to break it apart, as opposed to just yanking it off and breaking the roots off. So one thing with orchids is you have to be very careful not to damage the roots. There are so many dead roots though. So these roots I'm gonna have to remove, but I want, that came off. You can just, you know, sometimes you can just pull on this, but, oops. Okay, good, I didn't damage that root. These roots are in really bad shape. I hope this thing survives, but the ones that are really dead, I don't want that from just decaying in there and hindering any other roots. So what I'm gonna have to do is, let's see if I can gently set this on the pot. Yes, good. Okay, any root that seems to have some vestige of life, I'm gonna retain. Oh, it's wet. And the ones that don't, prune. So this one here is completely dry. You can see how it's even folding. Right there, you see how it folds. It's just completely dead. So I'm gonna remove that. Okay, there we go. And this one has a little bit of life to it, but that top portion doesn't. Okay, that just pulled out. This one, I'll just leave that one. Okay, this one here is really dry. Okay, I'm gonna pluck it from here and not all the way to plant because there is a little thickness there. So yeah, it was sitting in water, but it was starting to shrivel up. It was actually starting to die. Had I not taken the initiative to repot this, it probably would have died. Okay, there are some good, thick, healthy roots there sitting up there, but you know, the aerial roots that grow above the soil, especially in the big house, they tend to not get enough humidity houses tend to be dry. Some older houses or basements seem okay. So they're not, not being in a very humid environment, they're not going to help the plant. And the ones growing in the media, as you can see, okay, this one's actually can be, you see how it's turning? There's a little fiber from the root just hanging there. Anyway, so I think this one here, it's just, yeah, I'll just keep it. You don't want to get too carried away pruning the roots either, because it's not good for the orchid, but also you don't want to keep all these dead roots from rotting and making things worse for the living roots. But yeah, if the roots die, then the plant can't absorb as much water. Here's a leaf. I don't know if it's safe to pluck a dying leaf or you should let it die all the way, so I'm going to leave it for now, because the reality is I'm not an orchid expert. This one is seemingly a thick, healthy root, except for the coloration, but it's really dead coming out from the center, so I'm going to break it off. And as you can see, this part was attached to the plant. It was kind of dead compared to the rest, and it's actually just a fat shell. It's hollow on the inside. So I don't know if this is able to survive or not, but hopefully it will detect fresh media and better moisture and air flow at the roots to where, or a better, more ideal one. Okay, this root here also has some deadage or dead right there, so that's gone. Yeah, so I guess some of these roots are safe to pluck from the base of the plant. Oh yeah, that one there too. Wow. My mom has succeeded in keeping some orchids alive for a while. I'm not the best at orchids, but over time, I'm sure I'll get better. Of course, you spend too much on orchids and then they die on you. It's not very nice. This one, I don't know. I'm not confident in its condition, but I'm going to keep that root. I'm only taking the ones in pieces I know for sure are dead. Okay. So now as a potting medium, media, I have Miracle-Gro Orchid Potting Mix, and this is the coarse blend. As you can see, this was fine, and it's still very airy, but it probably would be better for a smaller species of orchid than this big Phalaenopsis. And then the fact that the roots were wrapped in some peat, like a peat plug, it for years was not getting good, adequate moisture right in the center there. So it's amazing how they produce these in a way that won't prolong their longevity. So, whoa, I need to, okay, I'm gonna have to do a little organizing here and move a few things. Okay, stay. So now I can trim. Oh, this actually does have an area where you, it had a little serration, but I'm just going to just cut in and up. And this way you don't cut the whole thing open because you don't want it to fall over and create a big spillage. And okay, I want to show you this. It's the coarse blend, and you can see these fibers are a lot bigger. So compare the two, and you can see how the one in my right hand, which would be on your left, looks slightly decomposed. So it's a good thing that I am repotting this bad boy, because he would not have survived, or she. I don't know if there is a different genders or not, but they are he's and she's, I guess. Well, at least certain plants come in male and female, like Nepenthes. I'm not sure about orchids. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, hopefully without making too much of a mess, is put some down there, and then see if this Hermie. You see how it's growing out this way? It was aiming for the light. Okay, that was not a good idea. So I actually want to stick this in here and let the roots hang down, and this way they're not all clustered together, and they'll get different, they'll fill up the media, as well as this would be more spread out so they're not all clustered together and you get better airflow. There are some healthy air roots up there too, so then I can start putting some in there while leaving the top of the plant close to the height of the rim, maybe slightly below or slightly above. I don't think it makes too much of a difference. And I can't even talk, can I? Okay, there's a big gap there, so now I can take and put some on that side. Okay, you can pack it down lightly because it is going to settle. You just don't want to like pack it down too tight. And let me scoop up some that fell. So while I'm doing this, here's a golden pothos, and it's doing really well near the window. There's one on the other corner which is too pitiful to show you guys. Then I don't know if you see the top part here of my coffee plant. This coffee plant, I have it in a pot that does not have drainage holes, and I've managed to keep it alive for a while now, because coffee plants do need a lot of water, but they also need good drainage. If you don't constantly water them, you can keep them in a pot without a drainage hole, and that will keep the roots moist enough so they don't die. So that's one thing that people who are proponents of drainage holes don't tell you about non-drainage holes. Most people say they can't keep houseplants alive, even though that's not really a houseplant. You can grow it as such, because you essentially, they say they never water enough. Well, if you have them without drainage holes and you forget to water, it can live longer because it retains more of the moisture in the pot. And that's one thing people don't realize. And if you do forget to water, or you don't water it that often, you don't really have to worry about root rot when you have it in a pot without drainage holes. So the reality is, drainage holes, certain pots like aloe or something, certain plants, those could use drainage holes, or be in terracotta so they dry out fast. But non-succulents, no, just you don't have to worry. Look, there's a big piece of wood and there are splints. Okay, now I have to raise the leaves and place these in there. I think I've adequately potted this. What I want to do is just shake it a little, just to have some settling in case there's a huge gap of air in between. Although that may not make a big difference for the plant, because they are epiphytic and require lots of air. But the nice thing about this potting mix is it's not completely dry, it's a little moist, so that at least helps. Okay, so now I have an adequate amount of media in here, but I do have some stale water in here. So I'm gonna dump this out, and I'm not gonna water this in a sink because I don't want to just mess up the kitchen sink or something. But I'm gonna dump this out, and I'll water it, I guess, in the tray, and then I can pour the water out and then put it back in there, and hopefully we'll have a happy orchid. And next time, if I make a video with it, it should be more cheerful. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and happy planting.